Oh boy.
So it really was just like the first fan fest.
It still felt like the first two to me. It just felt like you guys were on the money when they say it. Because if it was the first fan fest, they wouldn't have even told us what the job was. They wouldn't have even shown us that clip of Alphino. They would have just cut off. They would have like cut off at like us cutting off the tail off. And they would have just left the whole Alphino part out.
I mean, that was nowhere near the full trailer. It was only like 2 minutes of trailer.
No, yeah. I mean, the 5.5 is not even out yet. So, all right, we have. Oh boy, we. So a couple things, guys. For one, before we do go into the live letter, which is still 2.5 hours from now, we should probably talk a little bit about this. Actually, take a little bit of a break for ourselves, get food, whatever. I think that's respectable enough. And then do kind of a similar thing to what we did before. But I think we absolutely want to talk about this right now. This is not you do not stop talking about this. So I need to I need to even just pull things up sequentially because there's a lot we gotta break down. So I want to rewatch the trailer, but I also at the same time I feel like I understand the trailer enough that I don't need to rewatch it for the stream's sake. But I think we need to start with talking about the trailer because it actually tells us a lot, probably without telling us a whole lot.
No doubt.
It's
going to take us a while to dissect it.
Yeah, because so the trailer starts. Obviously, I'm a genius. That was apparent in the first 5 seconds of the trailer. Yeah, we knew that. Yeah. So
sure, buddy.
Yeah, that's it. It starts with the Warrior of Light as a paladin in not really an Ascian garb. It very much draws parallels to the Ascian garb, without a doubt. Without being a full-on... Like, I think the silhouette is more Ascian than the garb we actually see. It doesn't have any of the frills or anything and whatnot. But when they show it silhouetted on the moon looking back down at Hydaelyn, it definitely evokes Lahabrea-esque and Ellentill-esque moniker, I feel. Anything?
I'm trying to find the trailer.
Oh, I just literally rewound the stream.
It actually is up on the UpTubs.
Yeah, it's up on YouTube too. I just rewound the stream and I just pulled everything.
Yeah,
from that.
That's where I pulled it from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's grabbing on the UpTubs.
Yeah, it's going up. It's it's on the UpTubs. Yeah, because I mean you can see through this that even just the little silhouette of him walking on the moon, it just it super evokes like Ellentill, which I mean, given the way that 5.3, I feel like am I the only one who feels like there's a little bit of a misunderstanding of what we go through as taking the seat of Azem a little bit, that maybe is going to be kind of further provoked in that sense?
Well, okay, here's the tough thing about the Azem crystal is that we know these crystals are given to the Ascians to, give them some of the memories of their, former soul host, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But as far as we know, the ones that we found in Amarot were simulacra. They were copies.
Yeah, it was Emmett like remembering them in a sense.
Yeah. So it might do something for us, but it's not going to do anything for us anywhere near as like profoundly,
right?
As it would with like the real thing, I would say. I mean, you're right that like this is definitely like an homage to Ellentill on the moon, and we're supposed to be kind of thinking of that. I have difficulty like reading so much into it until we get a bit more context. But okay, here's the important thing. When we see the map of Garlemald there, we can basically intuit that that's the main tower.
Yes.
It is right through the capital, and it is just completely shreked it.
Yes, and it's stark difference from the original map where we see a not in pieces Garlemald. It's very clearly different.
Yeah. And we know obviously that the thing with the towers and the Terminus Beast, the Lunar Primals, or whatever it's going to look like, is not going to be resolved before 6.0. That is going to be 6.0.
Hey, Ethys.
So,
Ethys.
Yeah.
There's you might have heard of this game before. It's called Final Fantasy IV. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a dungeon called the Tower of Babel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that our Tower of Babel?
Yeah. Well, it would certainly make sense, wouldn't it? You're such a dick.
I fucking hate it right now.
What I'm getting at here is that rather than primals, rather than big sin eaters, light wardens, we're gonna have like terminus beasts. We're gonna have like big scary terminus beasts. Like, we go through the Amarot dungeon and Emmett's like, the first doom and the second doom and the final doom was upon us. That's going to be like the 8-mans. And aesthetically, she certainly fits. Anima's going to be one of them.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. I think it's also safe to assume that the dungeon we saw was one of the towers is more likely the the final dungeon before the final trial, more than likely, as opposed to the Tower of Babel, as I will call it until we otherwise have a name for it. Yeah. I mean, literally, it's everything's chock full of Final Fantasy IV references. I have to assume everything's Final Fantasy IV based at this point. Even the changing of Dark Knight to Paladin from the previous expansion is a direct Final Fantasy IV reference. So,
and I love that.
Yeah. So I wonder if there will be mount ordeals anywhere. If they're just going to throw a mount ordeals somewhere, anywhere, who knows?
I hope so.
Man.
The Anansa Boga here, by the way, is like the same skin as the ones we fought in Amarot.
Yes.
In that Amarot simulation.
Yeah, which is kind of weird because it seems they might be trying to redo the End of Days, but they're still very much our nightmares, our horrors, like the people that are living. So it's just, I guess, that image and the creatures themselves have persisted. It does make you wonder, because these creatures, you have to assume some of these creatures didn't exist before the Final Days, and the Final Days put them in existence in some way, shape, and form, and they still exist. One would assume at the very least that maybe these things didn't exist before the Final Days.
Yeah, I think that's not entirely unreasonable.
Yeah.
Well, they're kind of like, they're like unicorns or griffins or whatever. It's like bits of things that existed. Like the Ananta Boga, the model that we're seeing here is normally understood as being a void scent that is summoned into the corpse of a dragon.
Right.
And obviously this was before void scent and before presumably, Midgard Zormra's brood came anywhere near the source. But like we still had things like void scent because we still knew that like you give someone a shitload of astral ether and they undergo this transformation. It's basically what void scent are. So yeah, I think you're about right about that. Here's where I'm at the moment. Koji said that Fandaniel has this secret knowledge. He wants something. They want something. They're working towards something. The final days in ancient Amarot necessitated the summoning of Zodiac.
Yeah.
They didn't summon Zodiac because they wanted to. They didn't summon Zodiac because it was like the best of several plans that they had. It was literally like the last resort. And I don't know if you guys remember why they did it, like specifically. But it was like the planet is... Yeah, you get a point. Yeah, this is Aozivia now.
Damn it.
This is Aozivia now. It was specifically to rewrite the laws of existence and creation and the laws of physics, the laws of magic, the laws that govern the stars, basically to just like rewrite the order of things into something that would work for Zodiac. Ellentill was the heart of Zodiac, not anymore. Xenos could become the heart of Zodiac. Great. If that is something that Fandaniel can influence, if Fandaniel can basically set about a condition where we are forced to allow Zodiac to come back, or we are forced to go to the moon and be like, shit, we need to rewrite the laws of creation again to stop this apocalypse, then Fandaniel gets to rewrite the laws of the star to whatever the hell he wants, to his order. And we don't know what that is, but, you know, it seems like the classic, you know, he's a very Kafka-like villain, and it seems like the classic, like, I'm going to rewrite the laws of existence to make myself God.
Right.
I'm really thinking, like at the moment, that's kind of where it's headed. But in the same way where, like, in Shadowbringers, right, we were presented this sort of game by Emmett Salk with a no-win scenario, and we were like, well, we're going to change the game. I think it's going to be the same thing, right? Is that we're going to the moon because we're trying to, like, work out what an alternative can be. We're fighting against the Terminus beasts because, you know, the ancient Amratines, they couldn't do that. They couldn't defeat these Terminus beasts, but maybe we can.
Right. And I'd imagine that the Nimians, having fought in the War of the Magi, I mean, they specifically with Anatobogas, I guess this applies more to than Terminus Beast. They had to deal with magics that didn't really replicate it so much, but the way that the void magic was used against them, maybe there's. I'm trying to think of the significance to the location. Why'd they pick that location in Lim's Elements?
Yeah.
Why Nimian ruins of all things?
The significance of it is that there's a tower right there.
Yeah, that's true. I guess they could be trying to break into the tower, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that, like, hitting these towers and dealing with whatever, you know, great Terminus beasts has been brought forth by them is going to be our Light Wardens, effectively, if they're kind of continuing the same sort of structure. And I think they will, because this isn't just about narrative structure, it's about the game structure, about having these 8-man trials that are kind of interspersed throughout, and they're needing to be like a narrative structure to support them. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I like the idea that there's something about Nim specifically, because I like the idea that, particularly in the trailer, you know, looking at Fandaniel's tower, it is so Mark, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think the way we sort of explain that is like, all right, well, Mark is using the void, using the power of darkness, using the power of astral, and this is what that power looks like, right? The Ascians have that same sort of power because Zodiac is the same kind of alignment. So it's the reason why the Ascians, you know, so often like use void sets.
I have a question. Do you think Emmett had anything to do with Mach at all? Do you think he was a driving force behind the Mach?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Mark was like an expansionist sort of territorial empire that basically started consuming the realm, expanding, you know, imperial aspirations and all that, until the Amdaporians kind of developed their white magic to a point where they reached like a sort of like Cold War, basically. They had a kind of like nuclear deterrence between the two of them.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely, Emmett had something to do with it, and that would explain, you know, why the Void Arc looks like the way that it is and why they're using Void Set and all that. So that's kind of where I'm going at the moment with that sort of commonality and appearance.
One thing that's interesting, I want what you guys think about on the map. It looks like Turncliffe is a little unveiled on the right there. Is that Turncliffe all the way to the east that is on the map? See. Because it's
where
it's
you
on. No, I have a hard time telling because I can never remember where the latitude of Othard and everything is.
Let me have a look. I'm trying to find the frame for it.
Yeah, I think it's just Othard. No, you know what? I can see the burn, kind of. Yeah, I think I can. Yeah, I can see the burn. That's kind of unveiled. Yeah, I always have issues with the latitude. Yeah, I always have an issue with the latitude.
I completely understand that.
Yeah.
No, it's the same map.
Yeah. No, it's just that Thavnair is actually unveiled. You can see Thavnair. What's the island to the west of?
No, Thavnair's always been unveiled.
Yeah, but what's the island? Is that which? Oh, it's never mind. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to remember all the islands. I can't remember all this as well as I'd like to.
Well, this is the same map. I'm kind of surprised, right? Because I would think that, like, the rest of Nagja and Dalmasker and Wurlitz and Boja and Landis, they would all be uncovered now and then.
Yeah, they're just kind of like off the screen. Like,
And I would think that it would wait until May, until like we've gotten more information or after, I guess 5.0.
Hey guys, you know what's circling Garlemald on this map?
What is circling
whale.
Gallimard
A
on this
whale.
map?
A whale. I know it's Bismarck, but you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's still that big boy.
No.
And another thing, I just might be seeing things. Does it look like on the left-hand side of Garlemald, the cloud looks like a figure, so to speak?
Kind of. I see what you mean. I don't think it is. It almost looks like
No.
I see kind of like an arm in there, but it doesn't look like it's
Yeah.
actually making anything out. Could be the Giant of Babel. For the Tower of Babel. There you go. That's
So another thought I'm having here, just looking at the map, right, is I remember like back in Stormblood, it was the Stormblood Media Tour. I was sitting down with Yoshida, and just gonna do the name drop there. And we were talking about the dragons, right? Because we just finished the Dragon Song War, and I was like, okay, the Dravanians would understand that the Garleans have been trying to acquire neurolinking technology in Azazlar. And if they start using that against the dragons, then basically other dragons going to come back into the fight at some point. And obviously we found out that, you know, through the Warring Tribe, the neurolinking technology was sabotaged by Sophia's followers and like ended up, you know, being useless. But Yoshida's answer was like, well, it's Garlemald, what they're doing right now is not big enough a threat. Like it's still like a pretty small blip from the perspective of the dragons. I feel like the apocalypse is something else. And I feel like with Estinian coming back into the MSQ, that's something else as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think Midi's going to wake up from his Omega lull nap. Even though canonically, I mean, there just have to be dialogue things. Like, he'd have to acknowledge being awake versus having been gone for so long. But we still have, I mean, Ethys, you and I have been talking about Azdaja and Virtua for literally ages. And Estinian being involved is a big one as well. Yeah. So it's things that necessitate characters or beings we've known about for this. If anything's going to necessitate something of that scale, this is one of those things. Most likely.
Well, that's the thing, right? If all these enemies, these threats are going to suddenly escalate, then the presence and the involvement of our allies is all going to escalate as well. You know, like we're coming to the peak. All these characters that we've kind of left behind from the previous expansions, they're going to like naturally sort of come together at the sort of natural narrative precipice here.
Yeah. Man, I look at old Charlian on the left there, and that's the only other thing that's on my mind.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all in agreement, right? That it's gonna be Ranzat it's gonna be Charlian. It can't be Garlemald. Garlemald's fucked, and it can't be the moon. There's no city. Oh god.
There is a city on the moon. That's incorrect. So you can't rule that out. But I personally don't think. I think Charlian. Especially seeing Sage, I can't help but feel like it's too Charlian in nature. The entire job and the way that even the way the weapon works. It's such a Charlian method of combat that I would be blown away if we were going anywhere but that and meeting Alphino and Alice's parents. So
it's so interesting, right? How they made the point with Alphino and Alice both to talk about, oh, you'll be surprised. You'll learn how Alphino decides to pick up Sage in the MSQ, and you'll learn how Alice gets her new outfit in the MSQ, and you'll be surprised by that. I mean, we've got a render of Fulchenor. Here he is, Fulchenor. Levia.
I gotta try to pull you up on a bigger screen because those scenes always break for me.
Okay.
I mean, at least get you on this one.
Look, there he is. It's not going to be very clear.
No, it's not.
But there he is. There is a render of their dads, and we've never seen him. But this is in the first encyclopedia. Like his assets are in the game. He has a render. He's got, you know, we know a little bit about him.
All right.
When we saw the job showcase, I was looking at that, and my first thought was like, oh, well, that's Charlian. Like we're seeing, you know, internal shots of a zone in Charlian.
That's Google Library.
It was not. No.
Yeah, it was Google. Yeah.
Yeah. It was Great Gubu hard mode. And they just kind of like dropped that mob in there in a couple of different places. But that was so deliberate.
Yeah.
Right?
No doubt.
That was such like such like a deliberate kind of thematic sort of bait for us that I have a really hard time imagining that it's not going to be Charlene at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I came into Ethys' stream a few days ago just to piss him off a little bit, but I think I might be fairly close
Yeah, there you go.
to what it was. I predicted, I predicted, 2 zones in Ilsabard, 3 in Charlotte, or something like that, and then 1 on the moon was, I think, what it ultimately boiled down to. I'm still kind of in that boat. Ilsabard would be the Garlemald zone, where the tower is. Charlian, I think. Obviously, Thavnair got thrown in there. You were predicting Thavnair. I remember that very, very, very specifically. And yeah, I mean, between the two of us, we got it covered. I mean, we couldn't have gone wrong with that many guesses, but going to a lot of different locations is definitely a big part of the whole thing. I just wonder, because too much of this takes place in Limsa, for me to have to wonder how the old zones are affected by, because they can't just be okay. You know what I mean? Like, I refuse to let that be the case.
Yeah.
So
well, they could give us just like more zones, you know.
Right.
It could literally be like, hey, you see that tower in the distance in Limsa? That's part of Vilbrand that we can't explore yet. Just give us a zone in Vilbrand. Like that would be
kind of like what they did with Turncliffe.
Yeah, I don't think they'll do anything along the lines of like a cataclysm. Now that they've gone into a little more detail, but
no.
I mean, Garlemald's going to need some reconstruction.
It sure will. There's definitely going to need to be some Garlemald reconstruction.
The thing about Eorzea and Cataclysm that people keep sort of talking about that is you got to remember, like, we have not seen that much of Eorzea in open world zones.
Right.
We've been into all of the regions, either in a zone or in a dungeon, but there are huge parts of every single one of those regions that we have not been to. Zelfatol, Pagothan, we've seen like maybe a third of the island of Vilbrand. We've seen maybe half of the Shrouds. We've seen like a quarter of a Blathia Spine tops. We've seen just the tip of the Sogoli Deserts. The like Dravanian hinterlands and like that whole kind of forested area up there. So the way to do it would be like, hey, if Eorzea is getting messed up by stuff that's happening at a certain narrative point, just put it in the zones, like the parts of Eorzea that we haven't been to yet, and let us see it like in the distance from the old zones, but then let us go to like these new places, right?
Right.
I would love that.
So
I'm not expecting that, but I'd love it.
So I, if you can see me on the stream right now, you can see I can't help but notice something with my mouse cursor that, and I had a feeling that if I looked closely enough, I would find something.
Yeah, that's a scythe, isn't it?
Sure does look like one. Because there's two theories going around. One is that it's a scythe weapon and it's it's necro or it's some other job. The other theory is the shirt that he had on was a movie that was directed by Julian Templar. Now here's the thing. I think Xenos is picking up the new job. I think they made that obvious with him dropping Samurai and becoming something else. The idea of him becoming a temple knight or a temple, I could see him picking up a hammer at the very least. Because that still fits in the whole Hammer of Darkness against Shield of Light theme that was present with Gaia. That is, I think that's a totally valid, at least that a two-handed mace is some sort of possibility. No hammer and shield kind of thing. So it's tough to tell, but I think whatever that is at least the outline of his weapon. It just looks more like a scythe. But at the very least, either a hammer as a weapon, or I just think a scythe. I just think scythe is at least the thing I want to lean towards more.
It's not the only place we saw a scythe.
No, it's not.
In that dungeon in one of the towers, there was like a sort of a relief, a statue, kind of built into the wall. I'm trying to find it now.
Yeah.
New areas, new threats, challenging new dungeons. Here we go. It was before the train. There, I found it. I don't know if you guys have got this.
No, hold on. I gotta look at it on my phone because otherwise it's gonna show up on the stream, and it's gonna mess all the cameras up.
Yes.
I'm trying to rewind.
In the VOD, it's 112.46. You can see it.
Okay.
112.46. Okay, 112.46. Here's 44. Oh yeah. Yeah, you can see it's like one of those little pathetic looking scythes at that. Yeah, you pointed it out in the middle of the show as well.
It's more of a sickle.
Yeah, it's way more of a sickle, but sickle's close enough. You know what I mean?
But it's definitely something.
For me, it was really important. I was like, you know what? I just realized this trailer is the next version of the trailer is going to be designed for us to have seen 5.5. And in 5.5, we'll see Xenos probably pick up whatever it is he's going to be putting down. And so I immediately thought to go look at the chair. Can I see anything on the chair? And that little outline is the only thing I could really catch. So we'll see.
It's a really good intuition.
Yeah, I've done a few of these before, so. I couldn't help but think that that something like that had to be present, and I had to make sure it wasn't part of the chair. At least if the chair is uniform, it's not part of the chair. But you can see that on the left you can see the outline, and on the right you can see him leaning. So, yeah, I'm gonna put my vote. Where are you guys putting your vote? I'm putting my vote in the scythe sickle category. That's right. I'm putting mine. So be it.
Me too. I would love it to be a hammer because again, hammer of darkness against the shield of light would just like so perfectly kind of complete that theme.
Yeah.
But oh man, the Alphino and Alizé renders are just so good.
Yeah, you're looking at the preview site?
Yeah. Oh, that's just
what about you, Sly? I saw you shaking your head no. Are you on team hammer or just team anything else, I suppose?
Team anything else right now. I mean, I want to see a little bit more. I want to see a little bit more out of the patch before I go ahead and say it's going to be a scythe job or a hammer job. Yeah, we'll probably find out. We'll probably find out soon in 5.5.
As you get closer to it, as it pulls into the chair on that shot, you see the handle of it is very it's very narrow. I think yeah. And then it looks like you're seeing the back of the scythe, and it's kind of curves up and then starts curving over. Yeah, I really think that it's a scythe or a sickle.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my vote. Yes, Lai?
Then again, we already had the assets for it in game anyway with the
Edda scythe.
And
I mean,
a scythe can only look so many ways. Yeah, the Edda scythe.
I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for me, I'm gonna be in I like after the Sam Raimi thing, at least the looking at the name of the director of the movie kind of I like the idea. And again, Hammer of Darkness thing. I'd say that's not after the Sam Raimi, that's reasonable enough to me to be believable. We've seen somebody brought up Ranjit, obviously uses a scythe to some degree. Not even to some degree.
No, he uses Guckamots. That's different. I mean,
he makes a scythe out of Guckamots.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of precedent.
Ferdiad uses a scythe.
Yeah, Ferdiad. Or Ferdiad, yeah. It's hard to tell. Again, it's deliberately kept kind of a secret so that we don't do anything crazy. But yeah, I mean, I can't help but feel like all I can think about is every time Xenos is chilling, he's got a weapon with him. Every time. I just can't help but
he doesn't now. He just broke Ame no Habakiri.
Yeah, that's when he needed to go get a replacement.
Yeah.
I just want to know what's they're obvious. What's Nerva? Obviously House Brutus is funding Nerva, and this is happening. So
I mean, again, Asahi, aka Fandaniel, can just make fucking cash appear out of.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he is Nerva also. Is he's I got two bodies now? Because I feel like they're just calling all the Garleans back to kill them, not to actually fix this whole.
Yeah, I think perhaps killing the rest of the royal family.
Yeah.
And making sure that there's basically making sure there's no one for the Garleans to unite behind, right? That's why they wanted to destroy the Populares.
Yeah.
And it would make sense why they want to kill Nerva as well, because Nerva, he was a contender for the throne. Like he nearly had it. No one likes Xenos. No one wants him to be on the throne. So if all that's left is the Legatuses and their kind of factions squabbling, basically doing what Noah's doing, trying to carve out their own piece of something new, then there's no chance. The most meaningful resistance against Fandaniel would be a united Garlemald.
Which at this point would probably be backed by a united... at this point, it depends on who's in charge.
Yeah.
If it's Valen's in charge, not a chance.
No, absolutely not.
But if it's a Gabronth is very much an idea. I mean, he's old Gaius in a sense of, subjugation is a method of
yeah. I mean, one, I don't think he really cares about that.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit.
And two, it might be further evidence for the fact that he's got to be dealt with before 6.0. We got to do him in 5.55.
Somebody said Emmett was narrating the teaser. I'm gonna have to listen to that real quick.
I don't think so.
Here,
I think so.
I got to do the non-combat section. Spot after with Alphino and Alcide.
Yeah.
Oh, the first part. Okay.
Oh, the very beginning. It's another very
By the way, this theme already slaps.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Emmett because he says the final days. Well, no, he could be talking about the final days of Amarat.
Yeah, we could just be remembering what he said.
Yeah, we could be remembering, but he says the final days are upon us.
Yeah.
As in present tense. So it's kind of hard to see.
He says were upon us. No, he does say were.
It's kind of hard to see where he's saying, if he's saying Amarat or if he's saying...
No, I think
literally line for line what he's saying in Amarat.
Yeah, it's line for line what he's saying in Amarat.
It is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yep. It is, yeah.
It is.
Line for line.
Yeah, they were upon. Yeah, it's the exact same line. Okay, yeah. Okay, so we've got that. There's just a lot of symbolism in terms of us standing on the moon, him watching, Xenos watching Garlemald burn with a patient look on his face, just looking at the moon, just looking.
The other thing we've got to remember here is they've been getting better at it, but the trailers are not 100% literal,
right?
And I think we're looking at us on the moon there and being like, why are we on the moon at that point? What are we looking for?
That's that. Yeah, I wouldn't take that.
I think
part
that would
too
be
seriously.
end game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be absolute end game. Is okay, we've done all the rest. Now we need to go deal with Zodiac, right? On the moon.
Yeah. And then we have a Star Destroyer going to the moon.
Yeah, right. Rather than starting there and looking down on Xenos and being like, as soon as I find where I parked.
That took a second. I like people looking back at seeing that there's that Koji has an Estinian shirt on. There's it's a nice little detail that I'm sure is
polo, yeah.
Yeah,
I like it.
All right, so we already covered Sage. So the big thing to talk about with Sage, they didn't really talk much about how it actually plays. But they did drop a bit of healer information. Now, I have a very, very exact quote from my own interview with Yoshi P back in why there was no healer in Shadowbringers. And they very much said that at least the internal talks at the time were that they realized they really needed to stop the division between non-barrier and barrier healers. And that seems to have completely turned on its head. This is much more reminiscent of their original idea for the tanks. They have 2 main tanks, 2 off tanks. Where in that, it's not that you couldn't play with 2 of them, but ideally you would want to. But this is a hard step in the direction of 1 barrier, 1 direct, because they said they're going to make duty finder changes. Specifically, they said raid finder, which means NA never has to deal with it because we never use the raid finder. But to make sure that larger parties have 1 barrier healer and 1 direct healer, I suppose. Main heal, off heal, however you want to look at it. So I'm wondering what led them to that decision. Maybe they decided no matter what, you needed to be able to prevent damage and you need to be able to heal from damage. How you achieve that isn't so much important. As important as those literally are at the very core what needs to happen, no matter what.
Do you think Delubrum had any say in this, even though it's just been out for like a week?
No, you know what? Delubrum does a pretty good. So Delubrum normal is pretty freeing. You have a lot of freedom to mess around in Delubrum normal.
True.
I've main tanked as White Mage. I've main healed as Paladin. It's like I think it's really hard to really nail something down with that. In Savage, it very much comes down to the actions more than anything else. Actions are way more important in Delubrum Savage than they were in BA, like 1,000,000 times more important.
True.
So I think Delubrum is more of an example of them understanding how to create content that is very much designed around a unique system that doesn't exist in the rest of the game, and less of any indication of stuff they're thinking about in the rest of the game. That's how I feel about it. But the big thing is that Astro has to be reworked into... They're literally basically saying they're removing Noct as a stance. Removing the I can do two things option. And focusing on one...
So you're saying they're making it worse.
I'm saying they're making it more focused. Because one of the biggest problems with Astro is one sect is almost universally better than the other in any given patch. And then that's what ends up determining... what becomes, quote, meta. If that makes sense, I suppose.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And see, that's an issue that like I've been kind of talking about like this past week, like even with Astro, how the meta has completely changed Astro, I think, for the worse.
I love it. See, that's the thing. Oh, you mean? Never mind. I know what you mean. Just go ahead.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Them cards all being balances, I assume, is a big part of that. Everything.
It's so meta. It's so meta, right? It's so fucking meta.
Oh man!
Like the old cards didn't do shit.
Listen, old card system sucked. All right. The sooner people get over it,
y'all make me fucking sick. No.
Yeah, listen, the sooner people accept that throwing a bowl on a tank in a dungeon once every like fucking 8 million years was cool, but all anyone wanted you for were your balances, even your fucking tanks. That's the truth behind the matter.
That sounds like a fucking people problem. That sounds like a fucking people problem. That ain't a job problem. That's a people problem.
When even your tank is like, this isn't a balance. What the fuck is this?
See, that's what's wrong, y'all. Y'all gonna ruin
that's
another
an
fucking healer.
Point. That's an interesting point. It is a people problem.
Another healer.
You're right about that. It is a people problem, and we're thinking like, you know, Yoshida's changing his mind, or perhaps the devs think that like one thing is going to be good, and then they decide, oh no, that doesn't work. Let's do something else. When at the end of the day, it's like it's the players, you know, and it's like, here's a healer. What do you like? Do you like it? You into it? And they go, no, we don't like it. Do this. No. Like, all right, fine.
Right.
Fine. And Yoshida's like spoken to that before, is that like that's how they sort of try and have like that sort of reciprocative development where it's about player feedback. It's about like, what do you want more of? What do you want to see? So I don't think this is necessary.
I feel like the highly... Yeah, go ahead.
No, please. I made my point.
I feel like the most outspoken voices are the in-game raiders, the hardcore raiders, the one who are doing the content, and you know they pick our meta basically. And it's like, you know, well, we give you all these toys and all these tools for a job, and you don't like, I would say, what, 60% of them, so it gets reworked.
Well, the thing is, the reason why Astro ended up the way that it is the tools they gave us made it that way also. I mean, you got to remember, they've had an issue expansion after expansion where crit is over dominant. Speed is a hindrance to a lot of jobs outside of exact values that people have to contemplate. Direct hit is crit light, and non-DPS jobs can meld it, so it becomes priority for a lot of them if that's what they're attempting to do, because most of their GCDs are DPS GCDs. So the game is designed in such a way where they've made it so those are the only values we care about. So what else can we do to enhance those values? And that's what the new Astro system is focused on. I don't think they go back on that with this. I think they just look at the healing that Astro does, and they otherwise approach the way the cards work now, divination. I think they generally maintain that identity.
I feel like balance is such a terrible fucking buzzword nowadays, because like putting in a new job, trying to, balance out the old jobs to allow the new job to fit in. Like, it's so fucking
I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. One thing, healers are tougher to do this with, but I was really impressed with how tanks turned out when we got a fourth one. This expansion. I know some people don't like Warrior or Dark Knight for any particular reason, whether it be not liking Living Dead or feeling like Warrior's kind of bland at the moment. Yeah, that's fine. There are people who enjoy them. There's people who have valid criticisms of them. I wonder if getting that fourth healer introduces the same ability to more properly balance the healers in the same way that I felt Gunbreaker allowed them to more properly balance the tanks. Because I feel like going up to 4 tanks was actually really good.
Yeah, I think that's probably like the idea. That's probably the design philosophy, right?
Yeah, that's what I'd have to imagine. Streamers beat me to the punch on this one. I will say it's very concerning that of the 4 abilities we saw them use, 2 of them are DPS abilities, and they're probably the abilities you will see. One look like an AoE DPS ability, and the other one look like a single target DPS ability. And I'm like, so that's like half of their DPS kit, I'd imagine.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting to see that even in the previews they don't want to cast healing GCDs. They're like, listen, we know, just glare, whatever the glare equivalent is, just show them that's what they're going to be pressing. They need to know what that looks like. It's fine.
From a PR standpoint, though, like you had to kind of, like, I was just talking about this about like the premier job, which was fucking Paladin. But either way, you kind of have to find a way to make this fucking look cool. Yeah. And yeah, you of course you want to see how it heals, but like, like people want a fucking DPS as a fucking healer.
I think the thing is, the most important thing they could have shown is the one thing they didn't show: temporarily augment their own magic abilities. That just sounds like dark arts.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think so?
But they don't want to show too much too early. We'll probably see more in.
Why not? Why the hell not?
I feel like that was the most important. I feel like that was the most important thing to establish.
You're asking
the most important piece of flavor.
But you're asking media tour shit for a
no. I just want them. I think more of like them saying like a throwaway line, like now your shield also increases the defense of the person you threw it on. Just like a throwaway line like that.
Yeah, just like, what do you mean when you say that?
Can I throw a shield? Like for all I know, maybe I can augment a skill to double its direct healing. It like sacrifice its regen to double its healing output, like an emergency tactics, but to cancel the regen and upfront it. That's a pretty important piece of info. Maybe I can give someone with my shield a damage buff, for example. Like they can, all people with shields currently upon activation get some sort of throwaway line to give us more indication on what an augment means, because that's clearly the job's gimmick. We have ether flow, fairy gauge, lilies. We have the cards. That's their gimmick, and it's the one thing we walked away from understanding the least. So those are the things I was looking at. It still looks cool visually. People already who don't play healer want to play it, whether you be anime or Gundam fans or not or whatever. It had a lot of wow factor. It's another original job, which I love that it's original in the sense that it's named after a Final Fantasy job, but no version of it looks like this kind of situation. And I love that. I love that we've been seeing that Gunbreaker took a weapon that existed and made a job that exists now. And we saw, even with going back to Astro, it took a job that barely existed and turned it into something that was whole and complete. Eventually it got added to Bravely Second, but that's a whole other thing.
Yeah, just got a note.
Yeah.
I just got a note from Tal saying, I was right, you were wrong, we're going to the moon.
Tal, when the pandemic's over, whatever drink you want, alcoholic or otherwise, I'm buying.
Mike says he owes you a drink. Now get the fuck out of my office.
Oh man, that's how I know that the woman in your life is a quality woman, because she respected that you were alive and wrote you the note instead of just yelling it into the microphone, and she was also correct.
Okay, can we just talk about this for a minute? Literally, my earliest memory of State of the Realm was when
2015.
It was 2015, early 2015.
Yeah.
It was the live letter that had just teased Void Ark, right? And Mike was going nuts about going to the moon, and I was like,
no, because we mistook something in that for a lunar whale.
Yeah. And I was like, it's not the heck of a lunar whale.
The Void Ark. It was the Void Ark.
Yeah, that's what I just said. The Void Ark. Yeah, and you thought it was the lunar whale. Yeah, that's right. And you were talking about like, this 24-man raid is going to be on the moon. I was like, that is ridiculous. That is insane. And it just stuck.
Every fan fest. Every fan fest.
Not only every fan fest, but like every time any new piece of content has been revealed, it's just stuck for 6 years now. It is 6 years now. Oh my god, it's the longest con. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Koji watches State of the Realm, obviously, and he's
it was never
doing the Oriange on me.
That's the biggest thing you always failed to accept. It was never
no,
far-fetched.
You're right.
Ever since we saw Elidibus,
it was just always like not yet.
Ever since I saw Void Ark, we saw Elidibus standing on the moon. It's been there, always looming over us. Quite literally.
You're right, but I've always been like, hey, let me like see the rest of our planet before we, go to some rock.
Well, we did. As soon as we went to the first, I realized that didn't matter. We're going to the moon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had a look through the trailer at like every single frame that we had where the moon was in shot, because we in the shots like with Elidibus standing on it, you can see like some ruins in the background, a bit of like zodiac kind of iconography. There's none of that in the trailer that we could see. It was just
but also they make the moon the same size as Hydaelyn, which is very symbolic. It's very deliberate, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, it might be.
It completely eclipses it.
Let me look at the Amano artwork real quick, because you can kind of see
they're holding the moon
in the Amano.
Is that in the?
Which is which though?
Is that in the press package?
Oh, it's still not
no, I just had to go to the stream.
Yeah, it looks like the stream. If you need to refresh, because the stream looks like it hadn't updated with that part at the very end just yet. So let me refresh it real quick.
Yeah, because it looks like they're holding Hydaelyn, and then like in Zodiark's hand, that looks to be the moon.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, they're like gripping Hydaelyn, and the moon we can kind of see orbiting it there.
Ironic.
But what? Yeah, but what is this on Hydaelyn's staff?
Yeah. You think? Well, I was gonna. Nah, it couldn't be other shards.
No,
it couldn't be other shards. I don't think.
I mean, it could be.
I think it's just a staff design. I don't know how necessarily important it is.
Listen, they said that like this poster was full of like story hints and Easter eggs, and that when we're done with exploring, they want us to come back and have a look at it, and we'll be like, oh yeah, all these story implications or whatever. I don't know if it's as simple as like we'll get to the end, we'll be like, oh shit, that's Hydaelyn and Zodiac. But I mean, maybe.
I'm more interested in that's the most direct depiction of Zodiac we've seen.
Yeah.
Like we really only base what we expect on either the statues, which he kind of looks like just a more jacked version of the statues that we see in a sense.
Well, the statues have the same kind of like shape as the elementals, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which was always really interesting, is that they had
and
that,
in the way they were depicted, even on like the walls of everything, was always depicted as a much more in that form.
So
but
I'm kind of wondering to myself whether this is literal or whether this is stylized.
Yeah, because this is very Dissidia-esque Amano artwork. Like it's like the whole cosmos chaos thing is. The thing is, it's such a done over a million times, fantasy RPG, especially with Final Fantasy kind of idea in the first place.
Trippy.
So, but they told us we can read into it. It'll make a lot more sense later. So at the very least, it is worth looking into those kinds of things. But yeah, I do think you're right that they are holding Hydaelyn and the moon in a sense. I think that's at the very least, that's the least amount of takeaway that I feel like I get from that. Going back to the Sage trailer, seeing that Terminus Beast that kind of looks like the what's it called mobs that we see. What are they called? They're like armadillos, I guess, or whatever. It's at least like the same skeleton or something like that. So just another Terminus Beast. I don't remember if that's.
I don't know if that's a term. I don't know if that is a Terminus Beast. It looks more like.
It's kind of stylized like a mob in Radzat and Thavnair.
Yeah.
It's not the kind of around the eyes. But the arms really, like the arms, I don't know, it's just, it kind of gives me both vibes in a sense. You know what, it could be a Terminus Beast in Thavnair.
Yeah, totally. Totally, could
True.
be.
We didn't see a tower, but there might be one. That might be why we're going there. I wonder if there's even a tower in Thavnair. There has to be, right?
I think that's probably why we're going to be going there. Like originally, that'll be like our way in.
Yeah, we need to take care of all the towers, and there's a tower in Thavnair. So,
yeah,
yeah,
that's what I'm expecting.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Speaking of Thavnair, it looks beautiful. Radzat looks beautiful.
It does. It looks so cool, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm
a big fan.
Don't have much more to say about it than that. Like all of the sort of Eastern kind of aesthetic influences of Alamigo basically came from Radzat. Yeah. And same with Scala, right? Like the ruins of Scala, and we're seeing like that clay pot and all of that. It came from like this part of the world, what we describe as the Near East. So it's like we're seeing the sort of Turkish inspiration that we were sort of expecting, but then it has these sort of like almost like Neo-Aztec motifs kind of like trickled in as well.
Yeah.
I just love how colorful it is.
Yes, it's very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and I love that it's a sort of equatorial island, so it's very tropical looking. Looking at like the key artwork for it, ever since like the Isle of Ken being Bismarck, having a kind of like bestial sort of shape, I can't help but like look at that. Like that crystal structure behind the city in the back, wonder, and wonder,
if that's Auracite or something of value that we really need to be concerned about.
Well, I mean, if it's even like something that's sleeping,
it's way too obvious not to notice.
Yeah, it's a little bit in your face. Also the Matanga. I would have never predict that. I would have never gotten that prediction. Even knowing Radzat and knowing any lore about, I just would have never predicted it.
I feel like we see Matangas in
of course.
Uznair.
Yeah, we see them in Uznair. Yeah,
which is underneath Thavnair.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that is where Uznair is.
Yeah. So but still, for some reason, I just would have never got there in my brain. Just would have never gotten there.
I would have picked like the Gigas before the Matanga.
Chat says he's the keyboard dude from the cantina, bringing it right back.
Yeah, we were saying
that. Yeah, you were saying that in the middle.
Fucking man. That's so good.
This was like, I can't
God
unsee
damn
it
it.
now. I can't unsee it now.
God damn it.
That was so funny.
So that crystal structure can't be the anchorite at Corvus. That is an interesting idea. But Radzat Han is on like the southern, the sort of like southeastern coast of Thavnair. And the anchorite Corvus is, of course, on the mainland on the other side of the Corvus Narrow, like beyond the north of Thavnair. So it's almost definitely not what we're looking at there.
No. We do see again the destroyed Garlemald, which will most likely be one of our like maybe the penultimate zone before we go to the moon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, then again,
I'm a little disappointed by that. It's a little bittersweet, isn't it?
Bittersweet when we finally go there. It's tattered.
Yeah.
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 Who destroyed it? Who do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Like, look at the heckin' tower, dude.
I do wonder who built that.
Who built the tower?
Yeah, because like if all of Garlemald around it's destroyed, but I don't think he just went to
Daniel did.
Yeah,
I don't think it was something that was like built. I mean, I keep thinking back to like
It was
Merlin being
that-
like, "Oh, that's Garlean architecture." It's like, pretty sure it's organic, bruh.
I wonder if it just like assimilated all the metal in the area, like from all the houses.
That's possible. Yeah, it's certainly
No,
possible.
it's something. It's acid shit. So
I don't think this is any one thing. I think it's that Garlemald is new Amarot, right?
Yes.
And that this apocalypse is centered on Garlemald. And all the destruction we're seeing, I mean, part of it's going to be, the tower appearing, but, you see, like, airships burning, flying through the sky. Like, it's going to be absolutely just rife with these Terminus beasts, and they're just, tearing it apart.
I like somebody said that Nerva called Julian Manderville old. This was the result. Oh, man.
I like that.
I like that, too.
That's funny.
Yeah, and then we see the Matanga, which I love. I mean, I already see that's the glam. I mean, that's the glam from the max rank. I can't see it being anything but an outfit that's reminiscent of what what Max Rebo is wearing over here.
stop it.
He won't stop. It won't stop. Oh, and then Anima. I've been waiting for Anima for ages. It being a Terminus beast is...
We've all been waiting for Anima.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
There's not much else to say about it.
The
The only potential... It's a big question of, does this Terminus beast hold any sort of special place, or is it just they are using the aesthetic of Terminus beasts to make Anima? That's the only question. Because Anima is a very deep part of Final Fantasy X. Versus here, it may not be. It may not be. It may not have anything to do with the Asians or the Emiratians. It could just literally be a Terminus beast, and that's the end of it. So that's the only real remaining question I have.
Well, if someone or something,
they've only shown...
They only showed the top half of Anima.
If a Terminus beast behaves at all like a primal, right? It's got to be based on something or someone.
A memory.
It's got to use some remnant of someone or something's soul. So I wonder, like, who could this be?
Or who could have made it, at the very least.
Yeah.
Is it Fan Daniel's mom?
Damn it.
I mean, is it Yahtzee?
That'd be messed up. That'd be really
It would be messed up.
They usually inform us of 2 beast tribes before release, right?
Oh no, it doesn't make any sense. Damn.
Because I'm thinking like, we don't know, is Anima tied to the Matanga? They didn't.
No, I so sincerely doubt.
No.
I would be. Listen. I guess I can't say I know, but I would be so shocked. One big thing for me is I'm like, what if the Unsundered sacrificed the Fandaniel's mom as one of the half that
Fandaniel's mom or Asahi's mom?
No, they can't. Well, they couldn't have sacrificed Asahi's mom. He's new.
We saw what happened to Asahi's mom, remember?
Yeah, we saw what happened to her. Yeah, she got what she deserved. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
I just have
pretty
to wonder because it's so hard because again, Fandaniel is only what Emmett remembers. Like his memory crystal is Emmett's creation. It's his memories of those people. So it's the fact that he's where he is now mentally. It's hard to draw the line between how much is what Emmett remembers of Fandaniel versus how much of that is this sundered and the actions they've taken since becoming Fandaniel. It's hard. It's hard to draw that line. And I guess that's kind of part of the mystery of the whole thing. We only got one of the trials. You know, I kind of hope maybe they don't tell us both, because when they told us about Innocence, drawing the lines from Fatty Fat Boy to Super Sexy Man, when it came to Innocence it was like, well, that's Innocence. Like, that he has to be, like, it was such a direct line. Oh, no, he's hot.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, if they had a primal, I'd imagine it'd be Ganesha for the Matanga, something along those lines. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's those are some of the remaining questions that we have. We already had the dungeons, what looks to be, I guess, a more modern take on the potential train graveyard or just some sort of depot or something.
Another big question left for me is the story arc's being wrapped up in 6.0, right?
Yes.
Which means that the next story arc has to start in the zones that we've got now, right?
Yes.
So where could it kick off? I mean, it would make sense to me that, like, for example, Mericidia, the only nation that they trade with, that they have any formal relationship with in the world, is Thavnair, right? So if we're moving in that direction, it would make sense for that narrative to start in Thavnair. It could also, you know, have a kind of similar relationship with the New World, for all we know. I'm kind of expecting, like, Radzat Han to be, again, like Yulmore, to be like the end game hub. Yeah. And that it's going to be like where this new storyline begins to kind of launch from. Yeah, and then obviously the New World is a big option. Blue Mage has been a part of where, you know, they just got a handful of new quests. They spent the intro of that establishing sort of the the potential colonization of it versus the natives, or at least the extortion of the natives to some degree. The introduction of the virus for gain. They brought like a foreign virus over essentially, and the people in the homeland were getting sick. So that probably is Asura that we're seeing in that dungeon preview, the one in Thavnair. Yeah. The big statue. Yeah. And then the question, I guess, it's I mean, it's hard to imagine what even happens here. Is it just Asura as a, I don't know, because this is an end of days dungeon, obviously. Like this is the tower is wreaking havoc kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be like our best guess, right? Yeah. But maybe, also a boss in Final Fantasy IV. Because the tower is wreaking havoc, someone's summoning a primal. That's unintentionally, like, obvious straight line. I mean, not even unintentionally. It's like, you know, the same as all the beast traps. Like after Dalamud, you know, they're like, wow, the world's hacked. We need to do something about this. Like, save us, Garuda. Makes sense. If this is just the same kind of thing, just take a quick tangent to deal with a Thavnarian primal. Speaking of tangent, Pandemonium. Yeah, about that. Yeah, Lahabrea. I mean, Lahabrea got done dirty, right? Yeah. But he's not back. He's not alive. No, he can't be alive. We know he was alive. Hail Satan. Well, so here's the thing. We have two Pandemoniums in Final Fantasy to pull from, but they said this is a completely original story. So, I'm sorry, the 24-man is a completely original story. This is a new story in a sense of, like, it's not like, you know, Eden was so closely tied. Yeah, more so it's Eden is really closely tied to the fate of the first kind of thing. Whereas this is going to continue after our story is done in 6.0. Like, this is literally after the credits roll. So it's not some sort of like tangential to the Heidel and Zodiac story in a sense that it's like a ripple in finishing that story up. So I mean, it could be, you know, like it could be like leading to the defeat of Zodiac. It could be like we reach some kind of conclusion, but they're like, hey, if you want the real conclusion, you got to go and finish doing the 8-man. You know, they like in Shadowbringers, they're trying to tie the important pieces of side content and the MSQ like closer and closer and closer together. You know, in Heaven's Ward, Yoshida realized that they had this really long MSQ that was like meandering through all these primals and stuff. And then that was a problem. But it was only a problem because like the story with them wasn't interesting. It was just arbitrary. It was just like, well, we need to get these iconic Final Fantasy summons in there somehow. This is how we're going to do it. But like, you know, now Crystal Tower is part of MSQ because it was like a good, interesting bit of story. I don't see why like Eden is so integral to Shadowbringers, right? And to really kind of wrapping it up. So much so that Eden was originally intended to be the final boss of 5.0. I really wouldn't be surprised if it was like, okay, we've dealt with like 99%. Zodiac like may or may not be an issue. If you want to deal with him, there's the 8-man. If you want like the conclusion, then there it is. But while we're working on that through the patches, we're moving into this next story arc at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it would be nice if there was a bit of overlap rather than just like a clean cut, like job done. And now for something completely different.
So we have two Pandemoniums to draw from. We have Final Fantasy 2.
Technically 3.
What's the okay? Well, I'll name my 2. You can tell me what the third one is. The first one's Final Fantasy 2. Quite literally hell. Which seeing a La Habrea who we know is dead, can't help but invoke some sort of thought on that.
Like 7th hell.
And in Final Fantasy 9, it was tied to, it was the location that you go to that I think Garland comes from. Not the other planet. When you go and fight Garland, when you go and chase down Garland, you're in Pandemonium, if I'm remembering. Yeah. So, and no, in Final Fantasy 8, it's not Pandemonium, it's Pandemonium because they couldn't fit the I, and they couldn't fit the I in his name.
And then the only other Pandemonium we have, which it can't possibly draw from because it's Pablo Nova Crystallis is Type 0, where you fight Cid.
Yes. Okay, see, that's why you would know that, and I wouldn't. Okay.
Jarek in chat makes a good point that Pandemonium is the capital of hell in Paradise Lost.
Yes.
You know, that's where like the Diablo 2 Pandemonium Fortress reference comes from.
Yes.
So I think the idea of this being like the 7th hell, and the heavens and hells being actual, you know, like actual places and not just, you know, part of like esoteric Eorzean mythology. It's perhaps something we can entertain, you know? Maybe we're going to hell.
For me, the biggest takeaway is that is definitely Baby Zodiac from Final Fantasy 12 sitting in the very center. I have a hard time seeing it as much of anything. At the very least, it's so close to his overall shape. I have a hard time seeing anything else. It also looks like a what are they called? No, go back. I wasn't done.
You know, we have an entrance to hell, right? Yeah. We have 2 different entrances to hell that like exist in you know, the mythology of Heidelin. One is the volcanoes that the Hell's guards. They think that it's literally a portal to hell. And we're like, oh, isn't that cute? Look at their little superstitions. But like, shit, who knows? And the other is, you know, the Ridorana Cataract, which everyone's like, well, that's the entrance to the Hell of Water. And we're like, well, it's obvious why you guys would think that. But, you know, for all we know about how, like, you know, interplanar metaphysics works in Heidelin, right? Like, you dig down deep enough into the planet, you end up in the heckin' life stream. Like, sure, maybe if you blast a big hole somewhere, you end up in hell. Maybe we're going to do, like, a Dante's Inferno through raid tiers. Like, that would be so cool.
Somebody brought up, I know where else I saw that shit. It reminds me of the Unversed in Kingdom Hearts. Damn it. I hate it. All right, moving on then. Anyway.
It was so cool, and then you had to start talking about Kingdom Hearts.
Somebody reminded me of where else I saw it, and I'm like, yep, that's the thing. That's the thing it reminds me of. Yep.
Come on.
Yep. Don't worry, moving on. Now, New Alliance raid, original story. So I'd say the last really, it's not fair to put it this way. The last original story we got was the Shadows of Mach. It was. Like, it pulled some characters, but you can't really draw it back to sort of any, like, even though Diablos is in it, it's not like chock full of Final Fantasy VIII references, you know? It's got some stuff sprinkled about. It's very, very much an original story. For an Alliance raid. Crystal Tower, very inspired by Final Fantasy 3 or the Final Fantasy 14 spin on it. Return to Ivalice, a lot of Final Fantasy tactics and 12 references and names and locations and characters, but still a very much Final Fantasy 14-esque. This isn't pulling from anything, basically. It might pull, obviously it might have like a character like Diablos, you know, like this like character we recognize, but it's not trying to be like another Final Fantasy, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Diablos is indeed standing in front of the moon. Anyway, chat brought that up.
Oh, damn it.
Good catch. I like it. I'm really excited for this. Nier has one more chance to make me like the raid. One more chance. Because, man, you know what?
Oh, you're optimistic.
I know. Listen, I have to be, because if I'm automatically pessimistic, I'm going to be disappointed even if it is good. So I have to. Okay. Specifically 14's raid, by the way, not the Nier story. Because the original Nier story, confusing as fuck, but pretty good. This has not been good so far. One more chance. And nothing reminded me of that more than doing Deliberum and being like, oh, that feels so good. Feels so good to be here right now.
Yeah.
But the most important thing is that it's tied to a long unresolved or undealt with issue of Eorzean lore.
Yes.
Of
And that's the
Eorzean
important thing.
Yes.
Eorzean lore, not Novrant, not Othard, not Ilsabard, Eorzean lore. And when Koji says that, you know, he didn't stutter, right?
So what are those routes? I think Silver Tier still sits at the top of a lot of, so that's a big one.
Yeah.
There's always Allagan secrets, but I don't think they'll do something Allagan.
No, I don't think so either. I think, something to do with Silver Tier. Gelmora would be great, would be cool. Dusk Admiral for sure. We gotta remember, like, the War of the Magi, there were in the Fifth Astral era, there were 12 Eorzean nation states, and we only know about 4 of them. So there's a lot of stuff there.
I can still hear you, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Amdapur, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, sure, Amdapur, you know, something to do with the War of the Magi. Like, I think we've seen enough of Amdapur and Mach at this point. Seeing some more Nim would be cool. I mean, a big mystery is like what happened with Nim, but we sort of resolved that with like Beltoso and then with Ozma, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how Silvertier would end up being a entire 24-man series. That is the big mystery for me. I just have a hard time visualizing how that would play out. So, yeah. I don't know, you know, it could be something from another era entirely, right? It could be something from...
Is there anything in NX Trine that we haven't dealt with? Why am I thinking of something?
Not really. I mean, we don't know a great deal about like pre-Dragon Song Ishgard, but I don't think there's a whole lot to know about pre-Dragon Song Ishgard. We, you know, have no information about the 4th Astral era, basically. Could kind of, you know, explore something that we don't know yet, but just insane, like an unsolved mystery. You know, it's like it implies that it's like, no, it's something that we know about, something that we've been wondering about. And for me, you know, Silvertier's the top of that list.
Yeah, I can't think of anything but Silvertooth. Like, other things are there, but I really can't think. Somebody said Zantetsuken. No, we actually know more about Zantetsuken than the game.
We've solved that mystery.
Yeah, we solved that mystery.
We've solved the mystery of Belladaya, you know, the Uldar Sildir thing.
Yeah.
We've kind of, you know, more or less solved that mystery. You know, Gelmora, like, is great. I want to explore more Gelmora, but I don't know about any particular sort of big mystery.
Again, it's specifically referred to Eorzean lore. So things like Mericidia and Unauthored and whatnot.
Yeah.
And that, to be fair, they could just be doing a very general term. But when it's Koji,
exactly. When it's Koji,
yeah.
Yeah, when it's Koji, if it wasn't like specifically Eorzean, he wouldn't. I don't think he would say that. I don't think he'd make that misnomer.
Yeah, like right now, I couldn't begin to even fathom what it is. Like I wanted to kind of say something dealing with the.
You were talking about Annex Shrine. Something to do with Limsa.
Yeah, but like, there's no real mysteries. Like, I mean, I would love a good pirate mystery, but we
had one pirate mystery already.
All the tunnels that Mistbeard was getting into under Limsa Limensa.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, again, not something that I would call like a big mystery. But again, this is a difficult thing for us, right? Because when we're told by Koji like something that's a mystery to players, to the average player, there's a lot more mysteries than there are to us, right?
Right. You especially.
Perhaps so.
Maybe it's the boat. It's the boat in the peaks finally. The one from the flood.
Yes, you know what? Yeah, I mean it's not mystery.
It's not really that much a mystery. We know the entire purpose of it.
We know
every bit of lore around it. But if there's something
we're just waiting for and I mean that could be a way to get to the moon. Maybe, possibly.
I like the way you think.
Stretch.
I like the way you think.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
So was the moon apparently, and until a couple hours ago. Just saying. So that's going to be another big talked about mystery for a decent chunk of time. Now there were a bunch of other things, new small scale PvP mode. Now they didn't go into how much detail. One of my biggest problems with 14's PvP is that you either need a shit ton of people queuing into it or it's dead. There's no alternative. There's no classic modes. There's nothing people know from their old days. It's all these like minimum, individual responsibility kind of, you just kind of disappear into it. Some people enjoy them for whatever reason. I've said they needed this for a long time. And the fact that it's happening is actually it gives me a degree of excitement. Something that's 8v8 or 16v16 at the most is all that I could fathom here.
Okay, so what's on your wish list? What do you want it to look like?
I want to fucking capture the flag. I don't care what it is. Just give me a goddamn capture the flag. I don't need a MOBA mode.
Just
it took
basic,
you 6 years.
It
took you 6 years to manifest fucking the moon. You've been asking for a capture the flag how long, Happy?
Probably about as long. Which means it's time.
I wouldn't doubt it.
The only thing is, if it's casual but immersive, that's not capture the flag. Capture the flag is not casual. It is so cutthroat. Capture the flag, bro. Even in high school and gym, if you were playing capture the flag, everyone would be like, "No, I'm gonna fuck that team up." The people who normally like walk around the track because they don't want to do whatever gym class is doing, they're like, "I'm gonna get those fucking assholes." That's what they're gonna do. So
okay.
That's it.
All right. I mean, that's Jersey for you, I guess.
Yeah. It's a fucking brutal game. This is not a casual experience. Capture the fucking flag. No chance. So that's the only. I don't think
just mean casual as in it's like approachable and you
no. Capture the flag. Capture the flag is all try hard. There is no casual capture the flag. It doesn't exist. It just
I mean, you don't
doesn't
need to be like the best PvP player to win capture the flag.
Yes, you do. You ever try? Okay. You ever tried trying to grab the flag on a team that has 3 on D? You ever tried to be the one guy who tries to do that? You try to be the fucking hero all on your own? No, that's it. You're fucking dead. That's it.
I guess. Well, it can't be Blitzball because that's not casual.
No, it's not good either.
Yeah,
unlike
there's
capture the flag,
that we might get it.
Just saying, man. That's it. I just want my capture the flag. That's it. If it's Fortnite, I will die. Anyway. All right.
Yeah, that was that last echo shot we got of Mikoto where she's falling out of the airship and she's just like, where we dropping, boys?
Yep, there you go. New side quests. That's it. Not much to say. We're getting more role quests. Question is, of course, who? Because it definitely won't involve back on the first. They'll probably move this to a new location, new characters, new everything.
See, I really
Do you think we still... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I really thought that we'd be getting like the 8-mans and 24-mans in Novrant. Like... But we're just like, nah, sorry, we're done. We're done with Novrant. See ya. Bye.
That's my thing. Do you really like? It seems kind of fucked up to kind of tease everything that the Void Quest is doing on the first. It seems kind of like fucked up to throw that away just because we got the end of days going on the source. So do you think we somehow revisit that somewhere in 6.0? Have a reason to go back to the first?
Not in
6.0. Not in 6.0, no.
Not unless they really are setting something up for something.
So you think they're playing a long con with Cal High? You think they're playing something?
Yeah, I think that's a super set it up and we'll use it one day.
Yeah,
that's
next arc.
Literally, if Uno Kalhai had a purpose, it has been that since the beginning of him being here. That's why every patch, people are like, "Yo, did you check Uno Kalhai's new text? Does he have new text? No. Yes. No. Yes. Okay. All right."
I think if we're going to the first at any point in 6.0, it's going to be to just go and consult Bekulug. Be like, hey, we need some help.
That just feels really shitty though. We have all this shit, we've seen all this lore from the first, and then it kind of gets pushed to the side because we have a deal with
in 6.0 again, 6.1 onwards. I mean, apparently not the 8-man or 24-man, but exploration content, the empties being restored, exploration content, prerequisite, finish Eden, go and take back the empty. The ether's all fucked up, so you need special actions.
No, Dark Side of the Moon.
Look at you designing content.
Nope. Listen, I'm still not convinced the moon's going to be a zone.
Hold on.
I'm still I think they literally said that we're going to the moon. The Warrior of Light is going to the moon.
Just like they said we were going to Garlemald and Shadowbringers.
Yeah. But it's I just don't sure as an instance as a
the Lunarians, man, they even teased it. Excuse me. They even teased it. It's we're going to the moon. Is there anything up there? And he's like, no.
That's
stop.
True.
They even teased the Lunarians. Yeah, when they were talking about the Matanga. It even says the word journey to the moon.
Listen, if there are Lunarians, I just want them to be Allagan survivors.
Yeah, that's actually what I was thinking.
Yeah, the descendants of Allagan survivors that had a dreadnought up in space and were like, well, we can't go back there, or just ended up crashing on the moon.
Yeah.
And maybe they're Zodiac worshippers or something because Elizabeth's a bitch.
So then we have the Gold Saucer update, something on the scale of Mahjong. That doesn't read Blitzball to me, but I'm always mentally prepared for it as much as I don't want it. What the fuck is on this?
Better be.
I don't know what that is. Maybe it's your card game, Koi Koi. Whatever was it called? Maybe that's finally for you, Slime.
Koi Koi?
Yeah, maybe it's Koi Koi. Maybe you're getting what you want.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Shogi. A lot of people saying Shogi.
Ooh.
Shogi, Hanafuda.
Still don't know how to play Shogi.
Yeah, maybe something like. I mean, that makes the most sense. It's on the scale of mahjong is a very specific scale.
But they did say, didn't they say like multiplayer? Like
that's true. Like, that's true. They did say multiplayer.
So yeah, Shogi is two players. Yeah, that counts as 2 players. But you know, I like
it's
when they say multiplayer, I'm
multi.
thinking. Yeah, I'm thinking like up to beyond like 4 people, something like that.
Yeah,
that's what I think of.
I'm still waiting on it to be Beastmaster and it's Pokemon. It's fine.
No.
Beastmaster's gonna be Pokemon, man. I'm telling you.
I hope so. I do hope so.
Well, you know, if that's not Pokemon, maybe Island Sanctuary is. Because they've been talking. They actually, I remember them mentioning they originally wanted this for 5.3, if I'm remembering correctly, at some point. So, yeah, just a little garden and buildings. And I'm guessing this is instance for every player?
Yep. The end of times. The end of times are here. What are we doing? Stardew Valley.
I like that. I really hope that there are some, like, you know, Stardew Valley-esque mini games and stuff. I mean, they said, well, okay, raising beasts. What is that going to look like?
I don't know. It's going to be like raising a cow so you can get its milk.
I kind of thought it might even. I kind of thought it might be like seeding the island with mobs.
But this is my island. I don't want any mobs on it.
So creating your own Eureka, I guess.
No, this is mine.
Maybe, I don't know.
I want this.
That's kind of like that idea of being like, hey, come around to my instance of the island and my farm and check out this sick minotaur I've got, you know? He'll fuck you up.
Listen, after this last week, I don't want to hear about minotaurs anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do wonder. They mentioned that they were looking at like a really casual style content that's more lifestyle based. This was they mentioned this alongside when they introduced Parasols, as you know more lifestyle focused content. So I expect it to fully be a straight up Farmville, Stardew, Animal Crossing, whatever style of minigame for us to do. Because originally they just said minion farms. That was all they said originally. It was minion farm, some location where you could do that. But we knew this was coming. We just wondered where it went, and it went here. And there will be people who love that.
It does kind of sound like garrisons.
Oh, you mean in WoW? Yeah.
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 Which makes me not super excited.
Well, I expect there is going to be like you log in, do some dailies there, you know, send some stuff out, whatever. I fully expect it to be that way. Log in, do dailies, but it's going to be, I guess, not as important. It's very much you will have to want to do it kind of thing. Yeah, as opposed to being kind of like an integral part. It's I mean that's kind of what 14's always been. It's always been branching options to different kinds of players, kind of game.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. Okay, yes, it is an hour till the next live letter. Okay, somebody was keeping me on track time-wise. Ishgard, residential district, literally surprised nobody. We have a timing, 6.1. Didn't surprise me. That's been my prediction. So, we are supposed to get a festival in Ishgard in 5.5 of some kind. They made mention of using the space, and that's probably going to be what they talked about, opening it up to some degree so people can walk around and explore the whole thing. It's kind of fucked up, though, because weren't we supposed to be building this for literally the residents of Ishgard?
And you greedy bastard.
Hey, they want our money. Housing. That's the thing. They realize that Ishgard could get a serious surge of economy if they let outsiders buy incredibly inflated houses.
Yeah.
I really hope that they do gate the housing purchase behind some participation in restoration.
I agree, but they
probably not. But like at least like do the quests, you know.
All the players are going to be like, "We built this," and Yoshi P will be like, "I built this."
Fabulous. Yeah.
Like again, to be honest, I was kind of hoping for like after seeing it, I was kind of hoping for some form of Thavnarian housing, but like
no, that's
that'll be
too far ahead. Too far ahead. Too far ahead.
I mean, fuck, we got Shirogane like not too long after we got through Stormblood, so
that's fair.
Yeah, but we knew that wasn't that big of a surprise.
They announced it. Yeah.
True. Yeah, we knew that from the start, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get to the stat squish, which it feels like people don't understand how stat squishes work. Because people keep saying, like, oh, you're going to be weaker at that point. And then it's like, yeah, but the enemies are weaker too. It's a downscale. Everything is scaled down.
Yeah.
They're not to mention just one thing and leave one thing the same. No,
it's not like, oh, I got hit for 75k there. Now I have 40k HP. Well, I guess I can't survive that anymore. They did make mention of undersize being potentially weird, but specifically at 80. They said if you're undersize something at 80 and it was like 60 or 70, it's going to be weird after this because the scaling is not the same. But once they also said from 81 to 90, it's more normal. It's not like the same like truncated scaling from the rest of the game. So at 90, you're going to decimate everything in the old stuff.
Right.
Theoretically.
Well, he was saying 5% per level is like what it is now, basically from 50 to 80. And they're going to do 1% per level from 50 to 80, and then 5% per level from 80 to 90. So the way the maths would sort of work out is that the difference that we have between 50 and 80 now in the numbers is still going to be a much greater difference than what it'll be between 50 and 90 or 60 and 90. Yeah. So if you're level 90, you're going back and doing level 60 content, it might be scaled in such a way that like you don't completely face roll it. You're a little bit, you're taking a little bit more damage, and you're not like, killing the thing in like 2 shots. That's kind of the impression that I got, that like they still want it to be doable. So it might have some effect on like, meme runs of, soloing stuff, but they said that they want to find a way. They know that like people really enjoy doing that, and they want to find a way to sort of like resolve that. But I think you're right, Mike, that like, who's going to be soloing like stuff at level 80? No, I mean at level 80,
Mike
in 6.0. You're going to be level 90.
Yeah, I'll be 90. Yeah. So it's not anything to even think about. Your numbers will change. The result of your overall experience won't change for the most part. No. The only thing I'm curious to see is ultimates. How all this falls into what would be considered the most cutting edge. Does it get easier? Does it stay the same? Does it somehow get a little harder? That's the only question mark I really have. It's the only thing that gets pushed to that level, and that the downscaling affects no matter what, because you're synced to those levels. So it is a question of how carefully they do the rescaling, because Ultimates got easier when we got Shadowbringers because of the new calculations. They are way easier. So does this push them more back in line? Maybe it keeps them the same.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. So, it all depends on how their math looks on the back end of downscaling the content versus downscaling the player. That's all it's going to do.
In relation to scaling, there was one thing that I was really hoping to see. I'm honestly like quite disappointed about. And maybe this could be like an interesting kind of launching pad to talk about like how our expectations were subverted and what we were hoping to see from this that we didn't see. But in regards to scaling, what I always want and what I'm always harping on about is, being able to go back and run Sastasha and do my level 80 Dragoon combo, scale my damage down, but like let me use my abilities. It's not going to be a perfect balance. No one cares, right?
No, Monk has that.
It's the Stasha. Monk has that, yeah, because they unlock everything at like level 10. But like it's not. I'm gonna have more fun. I'm gonna want to like queue low level content on my Dragoon, and the level 20 Lancer that's playing with me and, you know, spamming True Thrust over and over and going, oh my God, is this all this game is? They're going to look at me like doing, you know, like Dragonfire dives and Stardiver and shit. And they're going to be like, ooh, damn.
Yeah, and then on the flip side, when the group of 3 gets that one, like, actual of-level player, they're going to be like, kick this fuck.
But I don't think it would ever happen like that.
No, don't say ever. Don't ever say ever.
Well, okay. Here's the thing. You scale a dancer down, right, and go into Sastasha and it one-shots everything, right? So it's already fucking broken.
Sure
because of the way that people get their abilities at like different levels and stuff. So I was really, really hoping that they were gonna say, oh, hey, all abilities are gonna be unlocked when you scale down. You just scale down. That would make everything like like day-to-day play, doing relays and stuff would make it so much nicer.
So you know the irony of that is that in order to fix the issues with it, they need to make certain abilities available at certain levels, so much to the point where it wouldn't even matter. Like, certain jobs don't have AoEs until certain levels. If you don't have your AoE as like a melee DPS, people are going to be like, fuck.
Yeah, so it already fucking sucks.
Yeah. So, one way or the other, it's one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of situations. But I wouldn't take the downscaling. I think people just are going to think a little bit too much about it. I don't think it actually takes that much attention, that much concern, that much worry. It'll be right or it'll be wrong. That's the bottom line. But at the end of the day, the numbers just facilitate the completion of the content. They don't. Yeah. They don't shape the content, if that makes sense. So worry about whether or not you can beat it otherwise before you worry about what downscaling will even remotely do to you, other than you being upset that you don't have 200k technical steps anymore. Which, you know, I wasn't thinking about at all.
You are now.
Listen, I had a 300k afflatus today. I'm feeling okay.
My.
There you go.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's what Cleric Stance Banner of Noble Ends Deep Ether Weaver will do.
Oof.
Yeah.
Nice spicy.
And then belts are gone. I saw somebody mention, don't forget we'll be missing stats from belts. They're balanced the game around it, they don't just take it away and be like, well, I guess you just don't have those stats now.
Yeah, it's gonna suck, man.
Yeah. The most disappointing thing is the Final Fantasy XI speed belt being gone. Sorry, Eureka. Sell your speed belts now while people don't pay attention to the news. Like, oh man, I gotta have the speed belt, and then it's gone. Oh man. And we'll get some more inventory slots. Rings was the most obvious choice. Weapons too makes sense. Every time they add a new job, that's always a problem. So main weapons was the most logical other. And we'll save 5 for a rainy day.
I mean, sure.
When they add capes in, there you go. There you go. That'll be a fashion item, to be fair. That'll be like you put it on and you're like in mount, like with the parasols or some dumb shit like that. You know. Data center travel. They've been talking. They said early on in Shadowbringers they were working on. They thought they had come up with a way to do it, and that it had a lot of technical hurdles, but they were working hard on it. So this is a long time. You know, people have hoped for it. So it's real. It's gonna have more restrictions than the current system, but the world is your oyster.
Do what you want.
I hope there's a lot of limitations to it, just enough to be able to play with anybody, but not so much that I think of hunts. I always think of hunts. That's the biggest thing. Party Finder, most useful thing for this. Hunts potentially will make every conductor I know quit.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it sounds like if you want to use the Party Finder, I'd have to imagine it's not even a cross data center Party Finder. If you want to use the Party Finder on a data center, you have to go to the data center and use what's there. Which, I mean, you could have everyone travel to the same one. Do you need to be a host to one to host a Party Finder on it? Do you need to be native to it to host one? All those kind of things are the things that I think about the most. I don't know. I don't care about the board.
You're just thinking mainly in terms of logistics and everything.
Yeah.
Like for certain things. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's fair. Like I believe economy wise, like they have our best interests at heart. Like they know what the fuck they're doing with it. They knew what were doing with data center or world travel. So yeah, I think it'll be fine. It's nothing but a good thing.
Yeah, and just like with when you make a new character, when you're choosing your data center on the main menu, in a sense, you do have to tell the game to connect you to the correct physical look. It's the same as clicking a Japanese data center on your menu now and making having a character there. You have to reroute where your actual connection to the servers is going to be going. Your ping will be affected, no doubt. Reflective of where the physical location of the data center is. But it is essentially opening the world up to everybody in every single way. Well, not every single way. Whatever the limitations are. That's the only thing I want to know is limitations.
The big limitations ping.
Yeah, but you're used to that.
Yeah, I could go over that.
You were used to that for ages.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
Australia's like, it doesn't matter where I go. It sucks. Anyway.
Yeah, that's fair. It just sucks like markedly more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I can imagine doing hunt trains would be so unoptimal with a system like this. Imagine having to log out of the game every time you want to go to a different data center's hunt train.
Oh, it'll be a mess. Yeah, it'll be an absolute mess.
So.
But then people just probably won't bother.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's for the better. Because I don't think anyone wants to worry about, hey, when are the JP hunt trains going on? Because is anybody running hunt trains over on this? Because I can always go scout.
Yeah, people just won't.
No, they won't.
Someone will.
No.
Someone definitely will.
No, it's too much work. It's too much work. We got the Ps5 confirmation. They did make mention, now this is real important. He made mention that the patch is the same day as the open beta. 5.5. That's not finalized. Yep. They did say, we haven't announced that. They refused to confirm it. I kind of hope it is, because as somebody who raids, if that is true, that is the most in advance notice to get off of work an Ultimate Raider has ever had.
Yeah.
So I actually hope they just tell us at the live letter, because we have a live letter. It's not like we have to wait for the next live letter.
I think the live letter will be the confirmation.
Yeah,
I think it will be the confirmation.
Very important.
I mean, it'll have to be now. They're going to be like making a new slide right now. Just going, oh shit. Yeah.
You would think they know this ahead of time, that the CEO is going to pop up and,
And guys,
say some shit.
Nothing the CEO does is a surprise. It's all rehearsed for fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
that one did kind of like look pretty genuine, but.
Well, it's because Yoshi P knows. He's, especially in the last year, that promising a date, especially with maybe Japan goes in the state of emergency out, they had to spend months working on that. I think the thing he's afraid of most is dates. I think we've seen that over the years.
He's afraid of committing to dates.
But I refuse. Every time Yoshi P goes, oh my god, you weren't supposed to know that. It's all rehearsed. They do this. Oh yeah, the guy with the PowerPoint slide clicker is so surprised that there's a PowerPoint slide with this. Oh no, it must have been slipped in and he didn't notice during rehearsals or anything. But
it wasn't on the PowerPoint. That's the thing.
Yeah, no, that's it. And a prepared video with a commercial for the PS5 version. Oh.
Yeah. Do you think we could give it to him for free? We couldn't possibly do that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So
it's okay. Go ahead. Just go ahead. Yeah. You're fine.
And so there's the PS5 version, April 13th. All the things you'd expect out of an update to the PS5 version. Definitely still people who are wondering where the Xbox version is. I know Brian was really like, that's
Brian is obsessed with it.
Yeah. I'm still as unsurprised as I ever have been. Every year it's the same thing.
Same thing.
It's literally not a surprise at all.
We're just gonna keep talking about it.
Just gonna keep talking about it, man. That's what it is.
Brought up.
Yep.
So, I have a question for you lads.
Okay.
Again, as I was kind of referencing before, what was one thing that you really wanted to see? You really had like your heart set on today that perhaps hasn't delivered yet. Let's be optimistic and say hasn't delivered yet.
I wanted the theme of the raids. The theme of the raids. I just wanted that. Right. I just wanted to know the theme of the raids.
Okay. Sly?
New crafting stuff. I mean, they can't really do much to it. But I'm really want to see what they would do for what they could possibly change for 6.0.
I mean, the big thing, Shadowbringers was massive for crafters and gatherers, whether it be ocean fishing or the reworks or even just the crystalline mean, which, you know, we're going to get more of things along the lines of the crystalline mean. It was the most significant crafter gatherer sort of focused patch cycle. I mean, even just looking at Ishgard and restoring Ishgard, it was by and far the most expansive. So the question is, do they just continue with the foundation they've set? You know, they've gauged the interest in stuff like Ishgard. They've seen what server participation looks like, what having leaderboards look like, what all those systems and how the player base interacts with them. Again, it's what is the feedback? You know, what is the takeaway there?
Restoring Kalma, it's going to be a hell of a job. That's going to take several expansions.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe the tower is our diadem.
Just have seasons of this?
Well, maybe.
Yeah, it just says seasons of it. Yeah. I think they're going to do the seasons again. I find it hard pressed to think they won't do some form of restoration that involves a seasonal leaderboard again. I have a hard time thinking it won't happen. And we know that the Farmville style thing is not a crafter-gatherer exclusive content. It's an everyone content.
Right.
So, yeah.
But I feel like crafters and gatherers will benefit from it a little bit more than just, you know, normal people.
Right.
I mean, I imagine you'll be able to like use a bunch of farm plots for like not farm plots, gardening plots, right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So
for my money, I know a lot of people were really like hung up on race stuff, you know, particularly male Viera, female Hrothgar. That was never going to happen, obviously.
Right.
But what I really wanted, what I was really hoping for, what I'm still really, really hoping for is a character creator overhaul.
Yes.
Because
I know a lot of people who are looking at that.
The character creator is feeling extremely archaic, extremely limited. I know there's a huge amount of spaghetti code in there. That particularly stuff with like body sliders and stuff like that is something that they have to change like every single piece of gear, like individually every single model, because they haven't like built it from the ground up to have like sort of, you know, sliding kind of what's the term for it? I don't do 3D modeling, but you guys know what I'm talking about. But just like some more face options, you know, like a couple of extra beard options. And it's starting to feel archaic. It's starting to feel really.
As the person who has never unlocked the esthetician, I couldn't agree more.
Look, for a game that has such like a healthy burgeoning sort of role playing and like chi posing and, you know, such like an artistic sort of like character centered community, it has like an old and like pretty dang weak character creator that really could use a bit of spicing up. So
sounds like something for a fan festival. Good thing we have the all around the world fan festival to the Daft Punk song of the same name.
Nice segue. What's your hopes?
I mean, we kind of already know, like everything we didn't get today.
Yeah.
A full trailer.
Yeah.
And then the usual things that we get: panels, Q&As, a concert. But they're doing it online. It's digital.
Do you don't think we get a challenge in game during this?
I think we do, because 5.5 has always had some sort of FanFest related addition to either the 24-man or its own trial. I fully think that they line it up with a trial of some kind, of a patch for the trial. 100%. It's even May 15th and 16th. If the 13th is the actual date, that is around the time you would expect a follow-up patch to 5.5, like a 5.51. You know, that's right in that wheelhouse of timing. And they did mention it should feel like an in-game event. They even said that. Maybe that's what the Ishgard Festival ends up being tied into that they mentioned some time ago. So there's all sorts of things. I think they're going to do do a good job with this, and we're gonna also, be sated on the remaining questions, the melee DPS, the raid themes, the full main theme, the full trailer, any of those details that we just haven't gotten yet, and coffee biscuits, of course.
And we should get all the panels, we should get the art panels and the lore panels and, all of that kind of stuff.
Q&A.
They could, the Q&A, they could even do like the cosplay contests. They could do them remotely, They could have like, video or photo submissions, stuff like that. I don't know, when I saw them announcing this, the three of us are in like a very privileged position where we've been able to attend several fan fests now. And it's like a huge thing that we always look forward to. And I just can't help but be like kind of bummed out, that we're going to be like doing it remotely,
We're like, going to be in this exact same current situation that we're in right the fuck now, but for 2 days.
Yeah. And it'll be fun. And, I think it's wonderful that like Yoshida's trying to deliver that experience as well as he can to people, and that it's going to be 100% free. I think that's absolutely fantastic. But man, I don't want to have to wait until 2023 for us to all hang out again,
Right.
Yeah.
But
when the world's not burning, we could probably make something happen. We can kind of do our own thing.
Yeah, we should. We should.
Yeah.
One thing that I would really, really love to see, that I know like PAX, at least PAX Australia, does a lot that fan fests haven't been doing, is more like it's the fan fest, It's not the like 2-day long live letter. Like bring the fans into the fan fest and have like community panels. For instance, have people doing like let us do like a live State of the Realm or live Mog Talk. Like I know Frosty usually gets to do his stuff with like the PvP and stuff like that, and that's always like a huge highlight for me. And I think doing it remotely is like perhaps a unique opportunity to deliver that some kind of stuff. And I'm sure if they are going to deliver that kind of stuff, if they were going to deliver that kind of stuff, it would already be like in the pipeline.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's likely, but I don't know. I think that's a real opportunity there. I think that would be great to see, having more like user-generated, fan-generated content for stuff like this.
I've read my comment section and I say no. I have looked at the comment section during live letters and I say no. All right.
You don't want to put yourself through that.
I don't care, but they're going to be looking at it and they're going to be like, no.
Well, their mistake is to look at it.
I mean, even his shirt originally said no comment, and yet he was reading the comments. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah, he'll learn.
All right. Well, with that, I think we've covered pretty much everything. Somebody did bring something up, so my resident Final Fantasy II aficionado was reminded of something. In that La Brea in Final Fantasy XII is one of the scions for Mateus, and Mateus is the name of the emperor from Final Fantasy II, who is in Pandemonium. So
who is in who's in where? Sorry,
Pandemonium.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's
connection.
So are you suggesting that maybe La Brea could have been like Lucifer?
In this case, yes.
He could have just been hanging out in hell.
He's in hell right now. That's where he's in. That's where he's at. He's in the 7th.
I could totally see that. I could totally see that La Brea. Like, I mean, I think he's dead. I think he's gone. But I could totally see La Brea having been like declared himself like the Lord of the 7 Hells or whatever.
Yeah, it's a hell of a time. Hell of a time. All right, gentlemen. We have covered up a lot of stuff. We have covered a lot of stuff when it comes to the announcement stream, but we're not through yet. We have the live letter in about 39 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm suggesting we maybe throw on some music, take 10 minutes to relax, come back, and get our second half underway.
Take a power nap.
Take a quick power nap. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are gonna, I think now, go to an approximately 10-minute break. I'm gonna change the title of the stream while I'm at it to boot, and then we will come back. Let's say hard back time at 15 to the hour. If you come back before then, cool. The audio will be on. I will be playing music. And if you come back early and you want to talk to the chat, cool. I'll put the information on the screen. And so that way, if you need to get food, drink, whatever it is you got to do, everyone do the same thing, please. Get up, stretch,
please. Use
the bathroom, get some food, drink, caffeine, whatever it is that's getting you through this. And that's our hard back time. It's 15 minutes before the live letter starts. Sound good?
All right.
Sounds good. You two can get going. I'll get that on the screen so people know that that's what the plan is. And you two, if you need to get up and do anything, feel free to do it as soon as you want. I'll probably run a few minutes of ads while I'm at it.
Yeah, too easy.
Yep.